that happens less and less now because the supplement companies are getting better at avoiding that. But that was something that from time to time happens. But it's just like you said, anytime somebody finds even an excuse that people will buy, it becomes the new hot excuse, you know, and that was what the codeine became, was taking the wrong cough syrup, you know, and the Adderall was, I didn't have the right prescription and I was taking the wrong thing. And it's like, come on, man. But you're right. It sounds better than saying I just did this or I did that or I took this or whatever. So
yeah, and I've had players, you know, tell me directly that they're telling the truth. Players that have been suspended and they've used these particular stories, and I, you know, and some I believe. And I said, I told them, and I said, listen, you know, it's not my fault that, you know, people are speculating other things. That, you know, look at your peers. That's the reason. You know. And I said, if the players are that concerned about their reputations, then take the confidentiality out of it. When you fail the test, let people say what you failed it for. And then there won't be this cloud. There won't be this speculation. And if you fail because you took the wrong cough syrup or you had the wrong prescription of Adderall, you know, it'll come to the forefront. But if you failed because you took steroids, if you failed because you were legitimately taking a performance-enhancing drug, it's going to come out. And, you know, more players get suspended for that than the excuses that they hand out. In other words, when you see guys, you know, claiming they tested positive for Adderall or speed or something like that, more often than not, that is not the truth, sad to say.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's something interesting too. We talk about, you know, these things being collectively bargained, you know, because if I was the teams, like, that would be something. Okay, I get it. I can't just put your business out on the street, but maybe when renegotiate this contract, maybe I'm going, hey, the minute you make a statement about it that's false, we have the ability to correct the record. You know what I mean? I mean, I know the players would fight that tooth and nail, but that would be an incredible tool for the teams to be able to have, for them to be able to, hey, if you say no comment, that's cool, no comment. But if you go, hey, I took cough syrup, and that's not what it was, then the ability is there for the record to be corrected. But you've got health confidentiality that, as a law, that you have to deal with too, right?
Yeah, that's part of it, and I actually like your thought process there. You're right. I think you can still have the confidentiality and give the league and the teams a right to combat any false information. In other words, if you say no comment, you know, the league can't say anything. If you say you failed for Adderall and you failed for Adderall, the league can't say anything. But if you say you failed for Adderall and you failed for steroids, you know, maybe the team or the league should be able to say, that's not what happened here.
Even if you don't specify, like, what it is, you're able to say that is incorrect, but I can't go any further, you know, than that. But you could at least call them a liar.
And then in that type of situations, you're right, you're going to see a whole heck of a lot of no comments because nobody's going to comment.
Damn right, like you said, because I used to always, same thing with the guys that'll say I'm clean. Like, I love it when a radio guy or and nobody does this anymore, but I love when they go, well, would you be willing to take a test right now? You know, like, if you know, I love that, but guys would never do that. You know what I mean? But if you're clean, hey, just prove it. And that's the thing. The more you hide, the more you shield, the more people know. You know, I mean, the ones that don't have anything to hide go, hey, you know what? I'm an open book, man. You guys can look into whatever you want. You want me to pee in a cup right here on your radio show? I'll do it. I'll do it for you, you know, but you're going to have to tell the world that thing is clean. You know what I mean? Like, but they don't, you know, that's just my thought on it. If you're clean, then it's an open book, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything in life. If you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have any problem with people looking into your background or whatever because you haven't done anything wrong. It's only when you have some skeletons in the closet and people start poking around, then you start, you know, the old saying, the old Shakespeare, thou protest too much, you know, that comes to the forefront with, you know, guilty people more than innocent people. And again, that just goes back to human nature. But In the NFL as a whole, these policies in a bigger picture, far past Josh Gordon, are incredibly. I've written about it before numerous times. Incredibly hypocritical. The league is well aware there's a significant performance-enhancing drug problem in professional football. I don't think the emphasis is on cleaning it up. It's on public relations spin, just a plausible deniability factor to say, look, we're doing all we can. But they have no real interest in cleaning up this game, nor does any professional sport.
No, they have to pretend it, though.
That's a bigger conversation to have at a different time. But I'm not even sure that performance enhancing is. It's been painted as such a horrible thing. But I always point out to people, whatever. Did you have laser eye surgery? How's that enhanced your day? Are you able to see, better? There's so much performance enhancing. Going to the gym is performance enhancing. Working out is performance enhancing. Watching film, and when you're talking about professional football players, is performance enhancing. It's just on such a base level. It's just such a incredibly misleading term, and it bothers me. But the public, the general public just wants to see what's happening on Saturdays, and for whatever reason, they've decided that steroids or HGH or everything else are these horribly, terrible things. And I disagree with that on a base level, but I'm fighting a losing battle there.
Oh, no, and you and I could do this sometime for sure when we need something to talk about, because I have some agreement with some of what you're saying, too. And the LASIK is a great point, because that is truly along the same lines. You are physically correcting a defect through artificial means and making it a strength. So that's a great point that people don't touch on. I didn't even mean to go this way, but since we went there, what do you think? Do you think there's because I said right off the bat with the Tony Bosch, when he finally said, okay, the gig is up and they did the biogenesis thing, I said, you watch. Right now, players in sports around the world are shaking in their boots because they know that their name is somewhere in these documents that will eventually be released. I wanted to ask you, number one, do you think that there's some definite, I do for sure, think that there's some football tie-ins there, but my thought too was, if I'm one of those guys, right now, me and my agent are figuring out a way to get in front of this story before my name comes out, because it's coming out. But I think that baseball's not the only one. The NFL's definitely got some skeletons in that horde of documents that the government just got.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it, and it all depends on and you've seen it in the past, whether it's the Signature Pharmacy story or some of the other high-profile steroid busts. It basically comes down to who the dealer, and I'll put that term in quotations, is friends with. So in Bosch's case, obviously his circle was more South Florida, and obviously Alex Rodriguez being the most high-profile. And you're concerned with that kind of crew, and Signature Pharmacy was, sort of a bigger one because it was mail order, so it kind of went across the country. And obviously, Balco and Northern California and San Francisco, you saw everybody tied in. So you tend to look at, that specific area and who was tied up in that kind of crowd, and you kind of can figure out who's nervous as we speak today. Mm-hmm. But, like all of them, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It really is. And, I know people don't get to do it very often, but, if you ever walk into an NFL locker room and just, see some of the athletes standing in front of you, you go, wow, we've really, really improved our, working out techniques. We've really improved our nutrition to either an absurd degree over the past 20 years, or people are trying to enhance themselves in other ways. And you've seen the time. You've seen stories. You can Google today. You see stories about HGH in the NFL, which is obviously not tested for. So guys, especially guys who were, very well off and paid very well and can afford what's a pretty expensive drug.
Yeah, it is.
And again, I have to catch myself. It's not a drug, but pretty expensive hormone. And it's being used, and it's being used significantly in the league. And both sides constantly dragging their feet they talk about it every once in a while. Every few months, the Players Association will go out and say something that we would have had it if the league didn't do this. And the league will come out and say, we would have had it if the Players Association would agree to this. And neither side wants it. Neither side wants it because they don't want to affect the game, and they don't want to see the athletes be lessened in any way. And that's the bottom line. I'm sorry if it's harsh, but that's the bottom line.
It's the truth. It's baseball stuck their head in the sand forever, and they're still dealing with the consequences of it. I mean, we know. Trust me, you're preaching to the choir as far as that. I 100% believe that the only reason these leagues are dealing with it is because they have to, because if they didn't, they wouldn't. As you can see, there's a reason that they fight the testing as long as humanly possible, and they won't negotiate over 50 cents that are left on the table. They're going to draw a line in the sand over that money. But the drug testing, well, we'll talk about that. We'll negotiate. We'll come back to the table in 4 years. But if there's a nickel left on the table, then they're going to a lockout if they have to, So give me a break with that. I agree with you, John, 100%. Hey, let's circle back to the Browns here a little bit. Obviously, talking about Josh Gordon spotlights the wide receivers, and it's the same up and down batch that we've had the last few years, some bright spots, but obviously guys still can't hold on to passes, and you trade the cast of characters out, but you see a lot of similar issues here. Just in general with the Browns, what were your thoughts week one, at least in the first half when you saw some of the ones out there? What were your thoughts on the first preseason run here of the Browns?
Well, I mean, I thought it looked a lot like what it was, and that was, the first preseason game. So I think if you saw it throughout the league, it was a very sloppy weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't just the Browns, so I wouldn't be concerned as far as that kind of thing goes. And I think if you look at some of the names the Browns have brought in, at receiver, the veteran guys, I'm talking about Miles Austin, I'm talking about Nate Burleson, talking about Hawkins, they've proven throughout their NFL careers that they can hold on to the ball, they can catch the ball. So I don't think that's going to be as big as a concern. You question, whether those kind of guys can get separation on a consistent basis. I think that's going to be the bigger issue. But as far as the sloppy play, I think you saw it throughout the NFL, and that's one of the things that this new CBA has also done. The fact that you go to camps around the league, there's no tackling basically anymore. It's just thuds. Nobody takes anybody to the ground, so you'll see a lot of issues with tackling also early in the preseason. Heck, even early in the regular season. Because teams just don't do it anymore. And there is so little as far as repetitions go, live repetitions as we call them, either 11 on 11, at practice when you're practicing by yourself or if you have a dual practice, which some of the teams around the league are doing this week. There's so few of that anymore, at least compared to what it was in the past. The first couple of weeks in the preseason have even gotten worse than they normally are, as far as as the actual playing of the game and the sloppiness and things like that. So I think it was understandable, and it's just going to happen, and it happened throughout the league. And I think you just have to look at the position battles, and you really can't judge how the team is going to be through the first preseason game. Certainly,
oh, no.
You just have to see, each position battle and see how that's going, and just take that.